But I want to go up to New South Wales now, into Cessnock in New South Wales, and catch up with a man who knows Kevin Rudd very well, Joel Fitzgibbon, the former Labor Defence Minister. Thanks for joining us, Joel. It's going to be great to talk to you throughout the campaign. You know Kevin Rudd very well. This is a very difficult job for any ambassador. How's he going to pick his way through this one?
Yeah, Chris, well, it's a difficult job for every ambassador from every country around the world. And, you know, I don't mind saying, and I truly believe this, Kevin Rudd was born to do that job. Maybe he was born to do that job more than he was born to be a Prime Minister. He's been in DFAT, he's been a diplomat, he knows the subject matter well, and he's a workaholic. So I don't believe Kevin Rudd is the problem. I mean, Donald Trump's not picking up the phone to anyone on this matter.
Yeah, I suppose the trouble, though, is that Donald Trump, more than most politicians, they're all a little bit sensitive when it comes to their own egos, I suppose. But he's particularly pointed about any personal slights against him. And he'll never forget what Labor leaders like Rudd have said about him in the past. There's got to be a small barrier to him at the very least.
Well, Labor and Liberal leaders, let's be very honest about that, Chris. But Trump's got a fair bit on his plate. I suspect he doesn't spend any time thinking about Kevin Rudd or anyone else that might have been disrespectful to him in the past. I just think that it's a mistake for anyone to argue, as Zoe just did, that, you know, like Peter, for example, Peter Dutton would be better at managing Trump on this issue. Look, the punters don't watch these things all that closely, Chris, but they're smart enough to know that when every country in the world is being treated exactly the same, no exceptions on this tariff issue, it's not sustainable to argue that if we had a different Prime Minister in this country or a different ambassador in Washington, we'd get a different outcome. I think they've worked that out well and truly. Yeah, it's very much a hypothetical. And the point, the real query is why Australia would even be included, because they have a trade surplus with us. There are such limited barriers to any American trade here. So it is really a big question, and you would hope we might be able to fix it up relatively quickly, no matter who's in charge. But Donald Trump, you're right, is really focused on a global play here rather than anything directed specifically at Australia. I've got to get your thoughts on the campaign. It's been going a week by tomorrow morning. Give us your sense. Do you think there's any clarity from either Labor or the Coalition about what the key themes are? Yeah, look, I think Anthony Albanese came out of the box very quickly, and you'd expect that from the sitting Prime Minister. And I think up until today, at least, they've both done a pretty good job sticking to their key themes. But, you know, cost of living is dominating this election campaign like no other matter dominated any election campaign in my lifetime, in my view. It's been knocked off path today with this tariff issue, and that's a good thing for Anthony Albanese. I thought it was a mistake for Peter to argue that he could do better with Trump without really being able to back that up with any evidence of his claim, because all that's done is further entrench the tariff issue in the domestic debate here. And of course, whatever are off cost of living issues, that's an advantage to the incumbent.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point, although they should be able to link the tariff issue, these economic issues, to the cost of living, I suppose, because your point there, though, is it's a welcome distraction for Anthony Albanese is one that some will agree with, some might challenge. But why it's interesting is this won't go away, Joel. We'll be talking about this next week and the week after and the week after. So it may be a distraction right throughout the election campaign.
Well, it may be, but I think Peter did all he could do today to keep it on the agenda, and I suspect that Anthony Albanese was very happy about that, because, again, I don't believe the punters accept that Albo has underperformed on this issue, and I don't really think that they believe that Peter could have done any better. So whatever we're talking about tariffs, forgetting about the knock-on effect of tariffs, we're not talking about cost of living, and given there's a cost of living issue in this country, that's obviously an advantage to the incumbent.
Yeah, sure is a cost of living issue. Thanks for joining us, Joel. I appreciate your insights. We'll catch up with you next week.